Good morning, Baker High School. Rebecca Goodsell and
Katie Bulger
reporting to you live from the campus of C.W. Baker High School. This week on the Bee View, we're here to talk about the movie
The Secret Life of Bees,
based on the novel by
Sue Monk Kidd.
Catherine and I both viewed this film for the very first time last weekend. I personally enjoyed the film very much.
I not as much.
Why?
Well, you see, I don't think that Jennifer Hudson fully lived up to the potential that she could have been while playing Rosaline.
What do you mean?
Well, Rosaline in the book was very sassy and cantankerous, whereas in the movie, she played it down a little bit, and I was kind of disappointed. She also, you couldn't really feel how she was a mother figure to Lily as much as you could in the book.
That's true. In the book, Rosaline was seen as a motherly figure to Lily, who unfortunately at a very young age lost her own mother. Rosaline was quick to fill the position.
So, you liked the movie. Who was your favorite character?
That's a tough one, Catherine. I'd have to say T-Ray, played by Paul Bettany. Lily's father, T-Ray, was seen as a negative influence on her life, and he was portrayed very well in the movie. He was seen as an abusive, neglected father, and Paul portrayed this image very well.
I agree. However, there were some points in the movie where I felt as he was just a little more abusive and cold than I personally thought he should have been. What are your thoughts?
That's just how it was back then, man. One major difference was the ending of the movie, which differed from the end of the book. In the end of the movie, T-Ray comes back to tell Lily that her mom actually did come back for her, and in the book that actually didn't happen. He returned but never said it was because of her. One key element that really made this movie come alive was the setting and props used. One key thing that really just made the movie so much better was the house that they used. They recreated the entire bubblegum pink house that the Calendar sisters live in. This just made the movie more enjoyable. And the three Calendar sisters altogether were fabulous actors.
One other thing I did not like about the movie was Dakota Fanning's, frankly, horrible acting. Personally, I think she's dry and cold, and she should not have gotten this part. I also didn't like the way that she held herself, because I thought Lily was kind of more independent and strong than Dakota Fanning really made her seem.
So one of the major conflicts in the entire book was the fact that Lily had killed her mom at such a young age on accident. Her mother and father were in a fight and a gun was involved. Lily, attempting to help her mom, accidentally shot her mom. In the movie, there was a scene where it flashed back to this event, which provided a very helpful insight to the characters' back lives.
Now, one thing about this movie is that it's pretty emotional. It even got to me, and I'm pretty heartless. There's one scene that was particularly poignant in the whole movie. This scene was when May drowned herself using one of the rocks from her wailing wall. I felt that this scene was very, very well done because all of the actresses really got into the emotions behind what they would have felt as if their actual sister had killed herself.
This movie's not for the lighthearted, so be prepared and have your tissues close by. The movie gets in just as much depth and maybe even more than the book does to the actual relationship of a young white girl and southern black women trying to help her out and make it through. Both the book and the movie, Lily finds herself to have feelings for a black boy named Zach working on the bee farm with her. This at the time defied societal expectations because whites were always seen above blacks and would never have thought to have been in a relationship. So in both the movie and the book, one of the biggest symbols was bees. In the beginning, Lily had caught a jar of bees and they were let loose and escaped. This is an example of foreshadowing because Lily too is let loose from her chains from her father and escapes from her house with Rosaline.
August and her sisters symbolized how bees have a queen bee and worker bees. August was the queen bee because May and June kind of followed her and took her advice and really did everything according to her. Well, that brings this week's segment of Bee View to a close.
That's all we have time for today. Be sure to join us next week on the Bee View while we review High School Musical. Gotta get to class.
Hi! Now, on our special segment of Cooking with the Stars, we have the one and only Queen Latifah, who played August in The Secret Life of Bees.
So, I'm Queen Latifah. Welcome to my kitchen. I may not look like Queen Latifah because I'm not in my regular movie makeup, but I must be Queen Latifah because I clearly have a badge that says Queen L. So anyway, let's get cooking. So to make my classic southern cornbread, we use the following ingredients. We start with a 1/4 cup of oil. You could use shortening or bacon fat if you prefer, but we're going a little bit healthy, relatively speaking, by using a 1/4 cup of canola oil. We've got 1½ cups of all-purpose white cornmeal. Some southern people go with the yellow, but the right southern folks go with white. So we're going to use white cornmeal. We've got 3 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. We've got 1 teaspoon each of baking soda, baking powder, and kosher salt. We've got 2 cups of buttermilk, and we've got 1 lightly beaten egg. Notice it's lightly beaten where you've just broken the yolk away from the white. You haven't scrambled it up like you're going to make a scrambled egg. So those are our ingredients. So step 1, we're going to take our oil and we're going to pour it into our skillet. Now the Southerners, if they were good Southerners, would use a cast iron skillet. My cast iron skillet is in the shop for repairs, and so we will use this other pan that can go in the oven and happen to be lying around. So we take this and we roll that around. And now I'm going to stick it in the oven while we mix up our other ingredients. So our next step is to mix together our dry ingredients. It's really important in baking that you mix your dry ingredients and your wet ingredients separately, and then you bring them together, and we'll do that in step 3. So now we're going to take our cornmeal and we're going to pour it in. Get all of that out of there. We're going to take our flour and we're going to toss that in. We're going to take our 1 tablespoon each of baking powder, baking soda, know the difference, important, kosher salt, you all knew the difference between those. And then we're going to throw it in, get all that in. So now we have our dry ingredients. Take a whisk, and the whisk is good, you can use a big fork if you want it. You cannot overestimate the importance of thoroughly mixing your dry ingredients. I think that we are nicely whisked, and so now we will pull our pan out of the oven, and for that we will use mitts. So out it comes. Well, that's nice and warm. Alright, so now we're going to take that nice hot fat, and there's nothing better than a cup of hot fat, and we pour that in. Swirl the rest of it around. We want it nice and coated on the bottom, otherwise that cornbread's going to stick and you're going to have to serve it in a very undelicate, unqueen-like manner. So what we're going to do now is stir this in. So we're stirring it up. Alright, so now that we've got that kind of stirred up, we are going to, hey look, we are going to stir in half of the buttermilk. Right, so I'm going to put in half the buttermilk. Let's see. Ooh, we add our egg. And now, instead of using the whisk, we're going to fold this stuff in. Alright, and so you take it, I use a spatula. You can use whatever you want, but spatula is the right answer. And you start to just kind of fold the things together. So we're getting a nice mix, not beating it up too bad. This is going to be some tasty, tasty cornbread. So that's looking pretty good to me. I was nice and gentle like, pulling it down from the edges, making sure I got no dry spots. Alright, now let's take this over to the hot skillet. Here, let me move this out of the way. And we are going to put this in the hot skillet. So now, the next step is to take our batter that we folded, we didn't beat it, and we lay it into our hot frying pan. Or cast iron skillet if you're doing it right. Now I move this around, right, because you want to get it good and even. Look at all that hot oil. So now we're going to stick this in a preheat 450 degree oven for 20 to 25 minutes. The saying goes, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. Well, we don't have no lemons, so we're going to make orangeade, just like we had in The Secret Life of Bees. And our orangeade is really simple. All you need is some sugar. We're going to say about 1.5 cups of white sugar. We're going to take 2 cups of water, and we're going to make a simple syrup. And then we're going to mix in some freshly squeezed orange juice and some freshly squeezed lemon juice. We've got 6 cups of water. We're going to take our 2 cups of freshly squeezed orange juice. We're going to take our 1/3 cup of fresh squeezed lemon juice. Alright, so that's the orange part. Now let's aid it up, shall we? We're going to slowly pour our simple syrup in. Getting syrupy. Getting close to the top. Alright, now you give it a quick swirl, or a leisurely swirl if you're going to be truly southern. And you mix all of that up real good. And then you put it in the refrigerator until it's cold, and then you start drinking. And that is orangeade. And so here you have it. You have your southern cornbread, you have your southern orangeade, and you have your fresh spun honey right from our farm in the movie, The Secret Life of Bees. And so thank you for sitting through our demonstration. I'm Queen Latifah.
And there you have it, folks. This concludes our segment of The Bee View and Cooking with the Stars. This is delicious. I hope you have a great day. Go ahead. Oh wait, don't. Oh, I hate myself. Gotta check it. All right.
B. I hate my life.
Go. Way that she portrayed Lily at all, because Lily I thought was more. There's one scene in this movie that I really enjoyed, surprisingly enough. It was when May killed herself.
You enjoyed it?
Yeah.
One scene I pretty enjoyed. May killed herself.
What is it? Delicious. I hope you have a great day.
Shut the damn door.